Hey, hello, and welcome to the Vending Machine. This is the show where we have service providers meet and talk shop with game publishers. They talk about their relationship, they talk about what works, what doesn't work. We learn loads, and that's why we're here today. This is incidentally the #2 show in the series, so we are on a roll. I'm one of your co-hosts, Peggy Salz, owner of Mobile Groove, Forbes contributor, mobile analyst, and also frequent contributor to Pocket Gamer as well. And my co-host, Oliver Kern, founder of mobile game consultancy, Target Gamers, chief commercial officer at Lockwood Publishing, and I have to say, still I will say it, a growth marketing ninja.
So I'm really looking forward to this month's show because we're going to talk about ad creatives, creative production, its process, these kind of things. I've worked actually with both these guys that are on today's show in the past, and they have also worked together. So it will be interesting to hear their perspective on ad creatives and creative production.
Absolutely, and I have to say before I bring them in, that also I think it's a great topic. When you suggested it, Oliver, I was all in for it because over and over again, and I'm sure you can attest to this, you know, creatives, source of competitive advantage. It's one of the few things that app publishers can really control. So we want to understand how that works because guess what? Whether you like it or not, you're going to be looking at ad creatives more in the future. So we're on the target with our topic. Let me introduce our guests. And we sort of do this a little bit like I say a death match. We have them in different corners. You know, we have our vendor corner, we have our publisher corner. But again, guys, it's just a friendly dialogue. You know, it's more of a friendly conversation, not a death match, as I said. So we have in the vendor corner, Andrew Kozik. He is founder and CEO of Performante.io, very cool name, company that helps mobile developers create short video ads in 24 to 48 hours. His team's created videos for Google, AppsFlyer, UNICEF, Frogmine, Nanobit, Lockwood Publishing, Prisma, hundreds of other awesome companies. Great to have you here, Andrew.
Hi, Peggy and Oliver. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. And in the publisher corner, we have Irina Morozova, head of UA at Supersolid. Irina, you started your career in mobile marketing 10 years ago, so that makes you a veteran, I guess, as well, but the rest of us. Worked at Mail.ru, led user acquisition at Hutch Games. Tapinator, also worked with Oliver on Avakin Life, now overseeing user acquisition for the London gaming company Supersolid. So Irina, great to have you here as well.
Hey guys, hey Oliver and Peggy and Andrew. Thank you for inviting me, very exciting.
So it's no holds barred, guys, you know, and it's all in good fun and it's all for constructive, informative dialogue, a little bit of criticism. Maybe I'll just start with you, Irina.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we just want to set the stage here because I'm writing a lot about ad creatives. You know, I've seen reports from McKinsey that overall for companies, you know, it can lead to a massive uplift. You know, I'm seeing 2x uplift if you do it right. I'm just curious for you, ad creative, what's the uplift here? I'm talking about 2x. Is that out of the park or is that a conservative estimate?
Yeah, absolutely. So of course, creatives is one of the main part of user acquisition. And it obviously depends on the game genres, but for some games you have to update creatives very often because they expire very quickly. For example, for the game I'm working on now, Snake Rivals, it's close to hyper casual game, and we all know that hyper casual game, they looking for the best performing creatives because they obsessed of having very high IPMs. It's one of the main things, not only for hyper casual games, but for everyone now. And because of competitive market, it's getting more difficult to get user attention and to improve IPM in the end. So yeah, for sure, it's very important part. And just look back, sometimes having the same audience and just playing with creatives, you can get very different results. And for example, at Supersolid, we saw improving result twice from just to have better creatives. And I'm sure there are a lot of examples of just changing some elements on creatives. And when you get uplift on installs and eventually errors that you're looking for.
So Peggy, 2x is then not something that is completely unrealistic. It's very doable. I think it even goes further because not only can you have creatives that basically perform significantly better, very often, that's at least my experience, they even kind of unlock almost the audience. So if you have like very good performing creatives on some of the advertising channel, suddenly you can access much more audience. You get much more impressions actually than with a creative that doesn't perform as good.
And there's something about the fit with hyper casual here I'm hearing. I mean, it's important for every single app genre within games, within everything really. But is there something special about the fit here? Casual, hyper casual? Maybe it's something about, you have to change it up more often. You have to show more of different aspects of the games or more games, I'm just wondering.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if you have core game, they have a different sort of different gameplay. So you can combine different elements and make different videos. But hyper casual games, they have very similar gameplay. And here you should be very creative and just to try different ideas that probably sometimes is not even relevant to your game. So I think for hyper casual, because creatives expires very quickly, because users, they just see the same picture all the time. So it's a little bit more challenging than if you work on core game and you can use the same super video a bit longer.
I'd like to understand a little bit more around the metrics. When you say this works, this doesn't work, you're looking at something, you have a benchmark, a cutoff point in mind. Could you just give me a little bit of an idea of what you're looking at? It's going to always depend on the game, but there has to be a point where you just, it's like a buzzer. No, this isn't the one. What is that point?
I think it's only IPM. So you basically have some idea about IPM you're looking for. And you just compare on the first round, you compare IPMs and just get the top performing videos. And of course, the videos that don't perform well, you forget about them. And then you test them in terms of errors, and sometimes you can get different little bit results, but usually I think they're quite similar.
Do you need lots of creatives then for that? I mean, I'm kind of to bridge this towards kind of also the production process. So if it's so iterative and in a way kind of almost clinical. I mean, when I was in advertising, there were these kind of creative gurus that would kind of create these amazing campaigns, probably trying to get some kind of prize in Cannes or whatever. Today it feels very clinical, right? It feels like, I found an element, let's keep it. So it feels very, therefore, obviously with something like that, you don't have to be super creative, maybe to a degree, but you have to be also quite clinical and very data driven.
So it's a different approach, but there's very much a production process here. I guess the first question, this will bring us eventually to how you do this, how you do this practically, is working with creatives, the production process, how do you do it? In-house, outsourcing, is there a mix? Because of course, part of that we know is Andrew, but how do you approach it as a role?
Well, we have our internal designers and honestly, I prefer to work more with internal designers because in a while they start reading your mind, they start reading your thoughts, and if you say something like, oh, I need this and this, and they understand it perfectly and they do what you want. With external teams, it's more difficult because they can't read your thoughts. You need to be very specific with them. You need to explain everything in details. So it obviously takes more time. But on the other hand, when internal team, they don't have enough hands, you have to approach to someone else to keep campaigns running. So yeah, that's why we're working with Andrew. But surely there are a lot of different companies on market. So, and what I like about working with Andrew, they don't ask additional money for top performing creatives. Some companies, they give you price for videos, and if some videos achieve your KPI, they for some reason ask you to pay more for this video. And they explain that it's like kind of stimulate them to make better videos, but from my perspective, I don't see like any sense here. So with Android, it's easier. They just do what you prefer, or you can agree with them, work on their ideas. So yeah, I think it's quite easy. And also they have very easy platform. So you set up task and then you get notification on email if you have any update. But actually my some feedback, I would prefer if it will be in some messengers like Skype or Slack maybe even, because I think it could be easier.
Well, she got to the point that she works with you and how she works with you. Just like to understand a little bit about you, Andrew. I mean, first of all, we know what your company does, but it would be interesting to understand how you do it and that relationship. So she pointed out Slackbot would be nice. That's maybe just on the wish list. But overall, how do you work together with the app publisher customer?
Yes, that's a great question. We are like a next generation agency. We not only have like animators and script writers, we also have our platform. And when we're working with a company, we give them a framework where they can write their own scripts or request the scripts from our script writers to communicate directly with animators and keep all the information and all the assets on our platform. So when company come to us, we ask them about their needs. For example, they need just animators to realize the ideas. Just give them access to our platform. They set tasks. We connect them with our animators. Then they deliver animation, make some rounds of revisions, and deliver the results. Yeah, in case companies would like to have our ideas, our media buyers, scriptwriters connect with the client, analyze his product, competitors, then provide ideas of what video creative we advise them to create, and then we created video creatives. And then there is very important feedback loop once we get the data from our client about CTR or any other metrics, cost per install, per trial, for example, for the utilities. And then that feedback loop helps us to deliver them better results. So for example, the first batch is like 10 videos. From 10 videos, 2 to 3 videos perform well. We create variations and trying to find new approaches.
I feel that there's consulting going on here as well, that you could actually, for example, if Irina didn't have the time or wanted to outsource that to you as well, you would take a look at the other creatives maybe through an App Annie or Apptopia and say, this is what they're looking like. Let me make a suggestion. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, sometimes we make that type of work, yeah, and advise something. We use that kind of services like Sensor Tower and at least like Facebook Ad Library and analyze competitors. Yeah, and we can suggest our clients to create that type of creative. We love the clients that would like to grow, yeah, to grow their applications and their portfolio, because it gives us a lot of opportunities and long term work. Yep. And on our platform we have like both models. You can extend your existing animation workforce, yeah, using our animators, and order ideas. So in general, that's mixture of approaches. And like our competitive advantage is that our agency delivers creatives like day in a day or up to 48 hours. And that helps to scale companies a lot. Yeah. So in general, if it's mobile company, utility or games company, we're happy to work them if they are planning to grow, because it's difficult for us to create just one or two creative. It's not interesting because we need to learn the business, learn the assets.
I'm hearing you like companies that grow, you like fast moving, and you like to really dig in, do a mass number or, a significant number of creatives. I mean, those are all positives. I'm curious, Irina, what sealed the deal here? I mean, did you work with Andrew for that reason, because he's hands-on and obviously, I think, eager to get stuck in, or is there another reason for working with his company or a company like his?
Obviously, on some point you have to go externally if you don't have enough designers internally. And why I choose Andrew, so there are a few points I think that are important for me. First, they do very quickly everything, and it's very convenient to use their platform for tasks. So you can get feedback very quickly. In terms of price, it also works very well for us, and we're happy with it. So in quality, I think is also good. So everything that is important for us is fine. That's why we continue working with them.
But you did say you prefer in-house, right? So if you had hands in-house, because they just live and breathe, obviously, the product. Whereas Performante, whereas somebody like Andrew's agency obviously has lots and lots of other clients with lots and lots of other apps and games. They can never get as deep, right?
Yeah, and it just, it's easier with your team because they know game very well. And they know everything, all elements that work from past. They have access to data. They can see everything. And it's just much easier when you have enough people internally.
Maybe there's a hybrid model here that says, I do it in-house, but I also have, companies like Performante just for one, to get scale and get the volume when I need it. When I'm onto something, I need to double down. That could be one reason. But then it's also a nice little sort of litmus test also, that you don't sort of get maybe caught up in your own creatives in a way. It's always great to have a little bit of, spontaneity or, off the wall ideas. I mean, how does that collaboration work, or how should it work in order to get you, Irina, where you want to go?
Me personally, I think we always have like a lot of ideas, because now it's very easy to track ideas of different people, what they use. So I think for us, it's not a problem, but I'm sure some people, they prefer that agency share ideas with them, because I'm sure sometimes you don't have really time to generate ideas. And here also agency can be useful for this. But yeah, as you said, I think this hybrid collaboration is probably the perfect for our company. Again, for some, I'm sure it's different.
Well, my experience has been that, at some point with in-house creatives, they also kind of run dry out of ideas, right? And it's then important to also, how do you inspire a fresh spark, so to say, right? And you live in your bubble in a way. And it's then important to have some people from the outside that creatively also kind of challenge you and say, have you ever thought about this or that? Because otherwise you're kind of just stuck with what you know. And I do feel like creatives sometimes run dry also of ideas.
So we talked about the results of this relationship. I want to take a look again at the relationship itself, because we want to understand also, how does it work best? There are some basics, it can be down to something I'm hearing so much in the industry, that it's really important to share the right data, that, your outsourcing partner, the vendor needs to have insights into the performance benchmarks or how things are performing. So that's just one point, but I'm sure that there are other levels of collaboration. Let's start with you, Andrew. In a best case scenario, how would it work? And maybe Irina, you can, she's told you a few things she'd like to see. You can do the same. What were some things that you'd like to see from her to make your life easier, to make your job better?
Okay, I'll try. So the app developers should have all the assets are ready for the production, yeah, in terms of illustrations, animation, like PNG sequences and all that stuff. And the second one, the company should have a willing to achieve good results, yeah, and to invest like a month or two in finding good creatives, yeah, and as well there need to be a trust between the vendor and mobile developer, because vendor can propose different not very usual approaches for the VA, and like company should be open to try out that approaches and to create very interesting and not typical videos.
So it's about preparation, collaboration, I'm hearing. Not too much on the metrics and data. It seems like you're doing a great job keeping him on the same page, Irina. What would you say to Andrew now to make that collaboration even better? Because obviously you work together already, but what's going to get you to come back?
So I think now all is fine. Apart of maybe for me, it's would be easier if, yeah, as I said, if it's some sort of messenger you can use for communication. And maybe it's also worth it to work with one designer during whole process, because in this case they can learn more about the game. Also, it would be good if they play a bit the game. I notice sometimes they don't really understand the main idea of the game. It also can be, I think, very useful for them.
Just to wrap up, I'm just curious if there's something out of your relationship already, some creative, some surprise, some campaign, something that tells you you guys are on the right track.
I think that in terms of Lockwood, we work for a long time, more than half of the year, yeah, like maybe 7 or 8 months, and that shows that there is a good match between companies, yeah. And
I should have brought the UA manager into this call instead of Irina, anyway.
I think that in Lockwood, in Avakin, there are a lot of content, yeah, and that drives creativity. There is even a unicorn in the game, yeah. You can play it and use different pets like dresses, party, and I think that brings good results to our cooperation.
Weigh in a little bit on this, because you've been there, done that, so you know how to iterate on creatives. You're still doing it for yourself, for your clients, everywhere out there. I mean, does this type of collaboration, is there something missing when we say how do they make it work better? Is there something that app publishers or also vendors need to be doing, in your opinion? Because it's going to have to be a very tight-knit relationship going forward. I mean, we're talking about volume of creatives. We're talking about rising above the noise. It's going to get harder.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge is to kind of find that balance between volume and actually things making an impact. Because, it's not only about, creating hundreds of videos and then just throwing them all against the wall and hoping that something sticks. You need to have, Irina, I think pointed that out. You need to have like a kind of clinical process on the way to kind of make sure that week over week, you improve like the overall performance, because it means that you're also learning and understanding what is it that triggers the audience that you want to get for your game, actually with the ads that you present to them. But the big challenge there, I think, is that you sometimes then, if you're very clinical, you sometimes miss the mishaps, so to say. So the kind of the ads that are a bit more like an accident. So I remember I once I was working with a UA manager on a like a hospital type of game, and she by accident created like a 7-second video. It looked quite awful, actually. It looked unfinished, and she just put it out there almost by accident, and it kind of beat everything. that is hard to happen in a very clinical approach, right? You have to kind of allow sometimes also a company like Performante to say like, hey, you know, we have this crazy idea, maybe we want to try it. And you have to also allow maybe sometimes the accidents, because yeah, sometimes that can actually do the big magic.
That's a great segue. Magic, which is what we're going to do now, right? It's top tips.
So I think, first of all, of course, it should meet ad network requirements. Then I think, of course, you should use the best performing elements. But just if you don't have any idea of best performing elements, I would recommend to try to use some sort of faces or real people on creatives, because it's usually improve IPMs a lot. Maybe you should go to see concepts of hyper casual games creatives, because as I noticed, it also does work quite well. And yeah, and test everything to see what works the best.
Yeah, I think that the more approaches you test, the more data you have. You don't need to polish your creatives like for the TV, for the TV ad. Like for games, just show gameplay, simplify it, add FX, change backgrounds. For utilities, show interface, interaction, and how that application work. And that's very simple.
My top tip would be if you've come up with a great concept and in a first run, the IPMs show you that nobody's interested in that concept, give it at least one more try with an iteration and not immediately discard it.